Hey, you're listening to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. I'm a barefoot mama bear, pharmacist, integrative fertility health coach, and lover of all things nature and animals. I'm on a mission to have intentional conversations about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. My mindful guest and I will be talking about struggles, wins, natural wellness, and how we grow and transform as we enter motherhood. My background in healthcare has shown me how broken our medical system is. My own struggles to become pregnant has shown the lack of support for mamas to be, the lack of guidance for women to have a nourishing and vibrant pregnancy, the isolation, mom guilt, and all the things we hold after bringing baby earthside. I want this platform to be a place where women can feel connected, safe, and supported to share and hear their stories. A place to use our voice to discuss and advocate about what we need and deserve as mothers. So let's dive in, shall we? Hello and welcome to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. I'm super pumped for our conversation today. I'll be chatting with Johanna, who is a single mama of 2 daughters, as well as a social media marketing and personal branding expert. She'll be sharing today about how we invest in ourselves and the positive impact we can have on our children through our pleasure-led businesses. Welcome, Johanna. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And I'm pumped for this topic too. It's so important.
Yeah, and it's really reflecting where I am currently in my business and my life. So I'm super excited. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. So, it's interesting when you're building a business alongside motherhood, it is this constant forward motion. It's always changing. And so, I mean, it's always changing in motherhood and it's always changing in business. But I started out my business. I already had a traditional business at the time. I worked 15 years in the event world. And that was sort of my passion driven business. And so when my eldest daughter, who's turning 11 soon, was 2 months old, I knew I didn't want to go back to work. We were running out of savings and we were already really financially struggling. And I didn't have any family around. My ex husband didn't have a lot of family support either. And so I needed to figure out a way to make money from home. And, you know, I also didn't have any sort of income coming in from the government like a lot of people do in Canada who were born and raised here. And so I needed to figure something out. And I've always been incredibly resourceful. I think it's really like probably one of the biggest skill sets you can have as an entrepreneur is to be resourceful. And so I started a business in direct sales, and that was 10 years ago. It was the first company that I'd ever worked with. And I was looking for a way to stop trading time for money, something I could do from home, still contribute. And I remember a lot of my friendship circle of moms at that time who had a lot of family support around. They had the maternity leave. Um, they had the finances in place to have a housekeeper, put their kids in daycare and things like that. And I was doing it all. And some of them even said to me, like, well, why are you doing this? Why don't you just let your husband work? And why don't you just focus on the kids? And like, why not just make them your number one priority? And I thought that was so interesting because I started a business because my kids are my number one priority. And I wanted the time freedom and the financial security. And I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with you have to trade one thing for the other. It's an either or world. And both of my parents were self employed. My mom was a working mom when I was younger. My mom and dad were both self employed. They would trade off. One would take me to work. My dad was a realtor. My mom was a hairstylist. I spent a lot of time where they were working. I was in daycare. And when we would go on holidays to go see family or anything like that, they had to stop working and they had to lose their income during that time that they were taking time off and they would lose clients. And so it's really great for me to see that from a young age and know as I brought kids into the world, that's not what I want. I don't want to trade off an income for that time. And so to me, I always saw it as an investment. The time I was taking when my kids were napping, when they like, I just saw it as, okay, well, I'm investing in their future. One, I get to be home with them now, but also like I'm investing in a long-term game plan so that we can take holidays and so that I can always be present with them and I can put them first. And so I started out in that direct sales company. I was with them for 6 years. Wasn't quite what I was expecting. I was actually gone a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, caused a lot of conflict in my marriage at that time. And I started to look for a way to build in the online space and to take that business on social media. And I created Facebook parties and I created a lot of different strategies. And then I started to learn about attraction marketing. And I dove into affiliate marketing from there. I learned about blogging, I learned about digital marketing. And this opened up like this whole can of worms that I was not expecting coming into direct sales. I had no idea the different ways that you could make money when you built a personal brand and you expanded into these multiple income streams, all from building a personal brand. And so that's kind of where I started to transition. Our family had just moved to Europe. This was in 2017. And I was really fixed on, okay, I want to take my family and we want to be digital nomads and we want to do things differently in our lives. And I want to, have our kids explore the world. And so we moved to Europe in 2017, and that's where I was able to kind of really test what I built. And in that time freedom that I had there, I was able to expand into affiliate marketing and into digital courses and really build this location independent business. And it further tested, it further tested from there, where I had to move back to Canada. My ex-husband and I split, and we went, we decided to go our separate ways and share custody with the kids. And I had to move my daughters back from Austria to Canada. And I was so blessed because I started this online business that gave me that freedom, and I had the financial security to move through all these things that had happened in life. And I just thought to myself, had I not done this when they were young, before I even knew why I would need this business, what would life look like? I would never have this sort of flexibility. And so, it's I always say it's all for them. Like everything I've done has been for them. And sometimes that meant sacrifices as well.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So you really started in 2017 then?
So yeah, I started my first business at in the direct sales in 2012.
2012. Okay.
And I struggled for a long time. I would say that was my learning curve. It was like six
Yeah.
years of a learning curve of making, $2,000 a month, kind of doing what I was told to be doing
Mm-hmm.
and kind of figuring things out and watching what other people were doing. And then it was in 2017 where everything sort of shifted and I started doing it the way that felt in alignment for me. And I started
Mm-hmm.
living life in alignment for me and what was right for our kids. And we stopped shooting our lives
Mm-hmm.
away in 2017 and we stopped living in the suburbs, doing what we were supposed to be doing. And that was where we just said, you know what? We've done this. We've done it everyone else's way. Now we're going to try it our way and see what happens.
Yeah, I love that you bring up that point. And I've heard it from so many other people that when you do make that shift to living in alignment for yourself and your family, that's when the magic starts happening.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
when you stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and, just like you said, trading time for money. And that's really what it ends up being at the end of the day. And our kids are only young for so long, and that's really precious and amazing that you've been able to be with them along this journey of yours.
Yeah.
And that's something that my husband and I are prioritizing for our daughter as well too. She's almost 3.5, so they're such important years of their life. So it's a really beautiful thing to be able to have that freedom.
Yeah, it is. And, I remember when I was getting started early on, Gabriella, she's going to be 11. She was a baby. And I took her to a hotel event because that's what we used to do in the direct sales days. And I remember hearing this mom speak about how we only really have 18 summers with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're off doing their own thing. And even this last summer, where my kids are 8 and 10, they had a week with their grandparents and they had sleepovers with friends and they're more independent and they don't need me in the day as much as they did when they were really little, when they were infants and when they were toddlers. They needed me to tie their shoes and make every meal. And, now they can cook and they can do a lot of things independently, but they need me so much more emotionally now.
Yeah.
And sometimes that emotion is around supporting them with a day off of school when there's something going on at school that we don't agree with or something's happened. And I have that flexibility. And also to show them through example, like we live our lives differently. And yes, there are rules of society, but that doesn't mean that we have to agree with all of them and live our life in that way. We get to be discerning. And we have that ability and we have that freedom because of the choices we've made leading up to this point. And I mean, it's brought so many blessings for us. It's a little bit of a curse actually, because my oldest daughter right now, she doesn't love school.
Yeah.
And so in the morning, she's like, I don't want to go to school. And I'm like, well, I have to get up and work too. She's like, yeah, but you work from home in your sweatpants. And she's like, you talk all about freedom and, on social media. And now you're making me go to school. I'm like, oh, this is backfiring. But they have had that experience of living differently. And when we were in Europe and when their dad and I decided to break up our family and to do things differently, and he was coming back to Canada, I didn't want my kids to have that be their memory of us leaving Europe. And so I took them out of school there and I world schooled them. And we went off and we traveled Europe for 3 months through 7 countries, 20 cities. And we learned from the world. And, all of those things, like for them to see that we set goals, we have values, we live our lives in a way where we are always in choosing. We're not victims to anything, not our circumstances, not what's happening around the world, not the things that come up that are unexpected. We are always in power of our own choices. And they see that. And so they really have learned from a young age how to tap into their own intuition, and discern their own values and discern their own desires. And they see mom going for goals. And so they want to go for goals too. And it's amazing, right? And you could teach them that. You could say to your kids, well, you could do anything you want in the world. You can be anything you want to be. But if you're not personally pursuing that yourself, they don't have an example to show them the way.
Yeah, they definitely need to see it in action instead of exactly like you said, oh, you can do anything you want. But if you're working a 9 to 5 job that is noticeable that you dislike, that's not really setting the example for them.
No, it's not. And we have everything now at our fingertips, right? And we have so much opportunity. It was cute. My family was just here from California for 5 days visiting us. And my brother and my dad went out for a walk with my daughters around. I live in downtown Vancouver, and they went wandering. And there's a little thrift store by our house. My daughters love thrifting. And my dad found this cup that said, "Be the mentor you wish you had." And he's like, this is so perfect for Johanna, because I grew up always thinking, okay, there's money in the world. How do I make it? Other people are living this amazing lifestyle. So there has to be a way. I just have to figure it out. And I didn't have a lot of that sort of influence in my life growing up. So I had to go and find the mentorship. I had to find people who had the lifestyle I wanted. I had to find people who had the kind of business I wanted, and then emulate that, the kind of family life. And so for my dad to give me that cup was so special. And my mentor says that all the time, it's not your fault or your mentor's fault if you're not successful. It's yours. Go find a new mentor. There's plenty of people now in the space that you can emulate too.
Absolutely. And do your daughters, do they know what they want to be when they grow up? Do they have ideas?
They have lots of ideas.
That's good.
Yeah. And you know what I love? Like I take time with them to encourage them. So because it's always changing, I'm like, okay, you want to do that? Like, okay, well, like let's explore what that would look like. So my youngest loves animals. She wanted to be a veterinarian. And then my daughters love slime. So they make a lot of slime and they do videos and they record themselves. And so my youngest decided to take her chore money and she wanted to start a slime shop. So we did. And it was interesting because then as she started to move into it, she kind of started to lose the excitement about it. And, she started telling people at school about it and other people. And somebody said to her, well, like, you're too young to have a slime shop. And I was like, isn't that interesting? Because I speak with women. I work with women all the time. They're like, I'm too old to do this. I'm too old to do something different. And so I said to her, well, like, you can't let people steal your dreams, right? If, let's work through the challenges. She's like, well, nobody's going to listen to me because I sound like a baby. And so, yeah, she also loves cooking. So we talked about doing like a cooking show, right? And what I love about this, my oldest daughter, she's not as sure of what she wants to be. She kind of has some ideas, but she definitely knows she wants to be the boss of somebody. She's very organized. She's very artistic. But it's neat to kind of put these things into practice with them and see the things that come up and also show them, hey, you can want to do this and you can try it and realize it's not for you. And then you can want something else too. And you can explore that. And if it's not for you, you're able to do something else too. This concept that you have to decide what you want to be and that's what you're going to be forever. And you've invested in it, and to not feel that there's failure or loss in that. It was just a learning experience. And they see me fail forward all the time. They see me try new products. I share with them, one of the things I love, and I recommend this for moms, is that when you get your family and your kids involved in your business and you tell them what your goals are, what you're working towards, and kind of show them, because otherwise they would just think mom hangs out on her phone all day. But I involve them in what the goals are, and then I let them set goals too. So if I am working on this project or I have a goal for this bonus, I let them also choose a bonus. And so when they help out around the home, or they know that time is allocated to bonus and they feel like they're sacrificing time with mom, they get to choose a bonus when mom accomplishes that goal. And so, and then, they'll ask me, well, how did that go? And I'm like, oh, it didn't go that well, but here's what I learned from it. And so them really embracing that sense of like, nothing is failure. It's all movement forward is so neat, because when I work with women that are 30, 40, 50, 60, they are so afraid to fail. So they won't even try, or they won't even put themselves out there. And I have to do all this unwinding work. Yeah.
That's such a gift to show them that you can shift and pivot from what you're doing. So for me, for example, I went to school for 6 years to become a pharmacist. Well, now I'm not in that traditional role. I'm a fertility coach, but even then, my first mentor that I had, okay, you can focus on fertility coaching now, but a year down the road, 2 years, 5 years, maybe you want to focus on postpartum or children or anything, anything that sparks a passion or desire. So that is truly a gift to kind of share with them that
Mhm.
your career doesn't define you at the end of the day, and you have the freedom to move if you
Yeah.
so desire.
And there's something that I've noticed, like in my own growth journey, I've had to do a lot of rewiring
Mm,
of my mindset and my feelings of worthiness, of like attaching the outcome of what I do to how good I am or how much money I make to my value. Or even, for for years, I've had people prospect me about coaching and try and sell me courses based on coaching. And I'm like, I'm not a coach, I'm a marketer. And I kind of put myself into this box around my brand being that, I'm an affiliate marketer and I am uh, like a branding marketer, but I don't coach it. Like I teach it in my marketing, but I'm marketing what I do through that teaching. But for some reason, I couldn't embrace that. Yes, I do coaching because I don't charge for it, or and it took me some healing work and some working through some of my own blocks to finally accept what I'm already naturally doing
mhm.
and to charge for it. Because I put my name on other brands and other products in the affiliate space for such a long time because it was safe and it felt like, I was putting another person's product out there. And it's a great income stream to be able to do that. But then when you put yourself out there as a coach or as an expert,
Mhm.
even though I've been doing this for over a decade and I've coached hundreds of people, it took me almost 10 years to say, yeah, I'm a coach and I can charge for it. And my kids have seen that transition too, which is interesting. And there is something where they see you going for that. They also then see the value and the worth in themselves in saying, because you're creating this space like you do for your audience online, like you do for your clients. You hold this space, but you have to be the one who goes first. You could say it all you want, but really we lead by action, right? We lead by doing.
Yeah, and I've heard once before too is you really only have to be a few steps ahead of someone to be able to coach them. So to let go of that thought that you have to know everything before you show up, that's definitely a big block. I experienced myself
Yeah.
in the beginning of my business, and it comes up from time to time, but I know a lot of women and entrepreneurs feel that way is, "Oh, I don't know enough. I can't
Yeah.
how could I possibly advertise myself as an expert on this topic?" So,
Yeah. And
yeah,
that's not even what people are really looking for.
right.
In motherhood, I'm failing all the time. I don't read the books. I don't go by the book. I don't have a guideline. I mess up and we have real conversations. And in my online business, it's always been the same. I've taken people on a journey and realized I did that because I wasn't an expert when I started and I didn't have the skill set, but I was excited about what I was doing. I was excited about the transformation I could help people have. I was having my own transformations. I was developing myself personally and professionally. And so I just started to share as a way to create content, and
Mm,
people were inspired by my progress, not by my perfection.
mhm.
And now more than ever, with more people in the online space, and all the reels and the highlight reels, people are craving real content, real conversation, real connection. And with so many more people getting started, we have to show them that it's okay to not know everything. That would be weird.
Yeah.
That would just be weird that you would be an expert or know everything right from the beginning. You have to be okay with being a beginner and embracing the learning and the journey. And I heard this morning on a training I loved how she put this, that, we set goals, like the goal is this income level, or the goal is this, this rank in your business, or this much money, or I'm going to go on a trip, which is a result. It's not a goal. And we have zero control over us actually making that much money in a month, or, but we have control over setting action step goals every day. It's the one thing that we have control with, and that is the one thing that's going to bring that result. It's the only thing that's going to bring the result, right? And so really having that faith and that vision and that belief, and then building your self-belief through practice. And then knowing that when I focus on my daily activity goals that are going to move me towards this ultimate vision that I have, the results will come from it. If you have that faith, you keep moving towards it, you allow yourself to fail, you don't beat yourself up, and you keep making progress. And people love seeing the unfolding of that, whether you're launching a product, whether you're, creating a new program, whether you're starting a new business. People get excited when you are real with them.
Yeah, definitely. Showing up, being real and raw and just very vulnerable. That's where people can feel that connection and maybe be like, oh, I'm going through that too, and it's okay that I'm going through that. That doesn't mean that I'm failing in any way.
Yeah.
So in the work that you do with women, what would you say are some of the most common struggles women have when they're juggling motherhood and their careers?
So I think probably one of the biggest things is the concept of time, of not having enough time, and often kind of making it an either or. Like, I'm either going to do my business, or I'm going to be a mother, or I'm going to work my business this summer, or I'm going to spend time with my kids. It always is like, I can't do both. I can't manage both, or, and they want to have that balance, but really struggle with it and thinking, well, I either need to like be all or nothing. So there's a lot of stopping and starting in business. And I see it in all businesses. I see it in women who are in real estate, women who are coaching, who are in service-based businesses, who are in direct sales, network marketing. It's staying consistent and letting go of that concept of like, I need to be all in or I can't do anything. And so in consistency building and creating those activity goals, it's important to really set yourself like realistic activity goals. Like in network marketing, affiliate marketing, I tell people, like, I would rather that you consistently prospect one person a day, network with one person a day, than like set this goal that I'm going to talk to 10 people today. I'm going to meet 10 new people and then like go a week without talking to anybody, because it's those small habits that compound. And so I often see on social media, like, oh, I took a break, or I'll get an email from somebody whose email list I'm on. And they're like, oh, I know it's been a long time since I've sent an email. So there's no reason to have that in your business, right? So when I know summer's coming, which it comes every year, I map out my next 3 months of YouTube videos that are releasing every Monday. And it only takes me a day or two to record, to plan out, to script out, and to record enough videos to get me through the next 3 months. To schedule those out, to schedule them out in emails, so that for the next 3 months on Monday, I don't have to worry about deciding whether I want to spend time with my kids or whether I want to do my YouTube video. Right. And some people might say, well, that's a lot. Oh my gosh, that's so much. Well, I haven't worked a 9 to 5 in over 10 years. The last job I had was with the 2010 Olympics, and I was working I was up at 4 a.m. and I was home 6, 7 p.m. and that was my life. And I didn't have a day off for months in a row. I'm happy to sit down and script out and video record 3 months of video in a couple of days, right? So you don't have to trade. It's just about being prepared and looking at your business and looking at your priorities. And I always map out what my kids and my family priorities are first. Their school, their activities, our family time, that all goes in my calendar first. And then I look at my, list of the activities weekly, daily, monthly that I need to do in my business. And I map that around that. And then I work in blocks. So, I tell people, if you're focused on social media, building your business, you should do 2 reels a day to grow your network if you don't have a large network. And I'll get that. Well, I don't have time to do that. Well, you do, because a reel is 60 seconds, and that's 120 seconds to put into your business. It's not very much time, right?
Yeah.
And if you're diligent with it, you can actually just time block off one day out of the week. Maybe it's a Sunday, Monday, whatever day you need to make it happen, and block off 2 hours and map out the content for the week so that you can stay consistent, right? And so it's not about trading the time or the time with your kids or the time in your business. It's just about being prepared. And when you do it and you really have it all in front of you, and then you actually practice it and you set a timer, you're like, wow, that actually didn't take that much time at all. And then remember that everything that you're doing is an investment, right? Those reels, those YouTube videos, those are evergreen. It's not like going a 9 to 5 every day. That's content I have content of videos I've made over the last 5 years that are still working for me, still bringing in customers and clients. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest challenges. And then the second one is about putting themselves out there and feeling like they have to be confident in order to put themselves out there. And what you need first is just courage, because courage to implement is what builds the confidence. And so, I'm so grateful nobody saw my first couple of YouTube videos because they were horrible. And it's practice. And with practice, you get better and better and better. And as you get better, your confidence builds. And, people don't think about us nearly as much as we think they do. Like, most people that are happy with themselves are going to cheer you on. They're not going to try and steal your dreams or, speak negatively about the content you're putting out. Most happy people are going to be happy for you, and they're going to encourage you, and they might be inspired by you. And it's only a very, very small group of people that are unhappy with where they're at that you're going to trigger, and they might say something negatively. But that's rare, and it happens less and less. And when it does happen, you're doing a really good job if you've been able to trigger somebody through your work.
Right. Yeah. I definitely love what you brought up there, and just making those small, sustainable habits. That's really what has made a difference for me in my business. Have a calendar, have something where you map out, like, what are 3 things you want to do today, or maybe just 2, or maybe just 1, to get started, instead of a list of 10, 20 things. When you look at the list, you're just like, oh gosh, I can't do that. And then you just don't do it at all. Like you said, instead of trying to reach out to 10 people a day, just reach out to 1.
Yeah.
So
that's 30 people in a month that you've just added to your network.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in 10 groups on Facebook. Pick a group that you really like and commit to it. You don't have to be on every platform. I recommend, one long form platform like podcasting or YouTube, something where people can go deeper with you, build that know, like, trust factor with you. And then one short form platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your jam is. But you don't have to have all the things. You don't have to have a Facebook group and an email list and a YouTube video. I do recommend an email list as a long-term plan. Definitely. It's a great way to communicate, and it's definitely a great way to build security for your business long-term and time leverage. But you don't have to do all the things, and all those, when you're trying to do all those things and then you're not able to, it just leads to the mom guilt and the overwhelm, and Yeah. And you know, the other thing I recommend, and I've only really leaned into this myself the last couple of years because I used to be all about hustle. And I used to be so business. And I didn't take time to exercise, to eat well, to meditate, to go for walks, to break up my day. Like I could go all day in my office and forget to eat if my kids weren't around, reminding me that they were hungry. I have that sort of drive in me, and I've had to really learn to coach myself in the importance of balancing out that feminine aspect of my energy with that due masculine energy, and realize how when I meditate in the morning and I have my spiritual practice and I go for walks and I take breaks, I actually accomplish so much more. I'm so much more effective. My conversations are better. My content is better when I make time for fun and feeding my soul and feeding my mind and my body and being in that, like we talked about in the beginning, just like in alignment and being in good energy. Because you know, you could post 4 posts from a negative energy space and get nothing, and you could do 1 post from a great energetic aligned space and you're going to get so much more.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, all of those benefits and all of those things, which are amazing, but then at the end of the day, the most important thing that we want as moms is to show up presently and connect with our children.
Yeah.
So when you do take 5, 10 minutes to meditate, you create that space for that to happen on top of showing up aligned and more creative for your business. So
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely. And you're taking that time to be still, you're tapping into your inner guidance. You know, I take this time in the morning to surrender and ask for guidance and to, you know, ask God to lead me to who needs to hear, who do I need to connect with today? Like lead the way. But I have to take the time to be still enough to listen to the guidance. And I've taught my kids that now. And I used to be a totally different energy with them. And I was imbalanced. And so they learn some of those things. And now when I see them and they come home, they're just like, oh, mom, it's so good to be home. And you're the person who calms me. And I feel so good around you. And I have, you know, zero guilt around taking time for myself and saying, you know what, mom needs a time out. I'm going to go have a bath and don't disturb me during this bath time. There is, and my kids will not come knocking on the door when I'm having a bath. Because when I'm with them, I'm fully with them. If we're going to the movies, if we're going to the beach, if we're having a picnic, if we're reading, we're movie time, I'm not on my phone like I used to be. I'm fully present with them. So when I need something, they're like, mom, go take that time. And then they take that time for themselves when they're starting to feel anxious or they've had a bad day. You know, one of them will say, I'm going to go take a bath and give myself a facial, and or I need some alone time. And you know, they have these boundaries where they know what they need. It's so cool because I didn't have that as a kid. I didn't understand those things. That wasn't what we were taught. And so they feel the difference. And you know, and everybody feels the difference. Our spouses feel it, the people that we work with feel it. And I think that energy transfer is far more important than us hustling and grinding and overproducing content.
Yeah, and it's magnetic
Yeah.
and almost contagious too. And for them to have those tools growing up, I feel like, older generations didn't have that. So it'll be amazing to see what this next generation is able to accomplish and do, because you hear about it more and more,
Yeah.
parents becoming more mindful and setting these examples for their children. It's really a movement. So it's going to be
Mhm.
amazing to see them grow up and aspire to be who they want to be.
Yeah,
So
I
I know you
agree.
have two freebies for the listeners,
Mhm.
a social media guide and a radical expansion workbook, and I'll put those in the show notes. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So the social media guide is something I created. I think it's been about 5 or 6 years since I created it. And so it's really to get, regardless of where you're at, if you're struggling in what to do each day to attract your ideal audience and to know what you should be doing in activity, those goals we were talking about, it gives you a sense of making sure you're on track with your personal brand, type of things that you should be putting out on social media and what you should be focusing on. And then it's also got a checklist with the activities that you want to be doing each day. Because with our business, 80% of the success of our business comes from the marketing side of things, right? You can have a great product, you can have a great service, but if nobody knows you're there, you're not going to make money. And so that is something that I fine-tuned to create consistently and been able to duplicate that success with multiple people with helping them know exactly what to focus on. So I did start it out when I was primarily focused on network marketing, but the strategy for social media marketing is the same regardless of what business you're in. You'll find it helpful. And then the radical expansion is a workbook that I created that is for you to stay on track and in alignment with what your goals are and what your intentions are and to let go of anything else. And so I designed it because I was looking for a tool for new moon cycles to regularly set intentions, not set monthly goals, to not wait for New Year's or the school year, but to take stock every month and reflect. And a new moon cycle is the perfect time to do that. So it kind of goes through a reflection process. It goes through intention setting, then action goal setting. And it's something that you can use however you like to use it. If you want to do it monthly, new moon, and it's going to lead you actually into something I created before we actually started talking about doing this, but it's my 5 days to energetic alignment, which takes you a step further into really getting into alignment with mind, body, soul so that you can take that energy and put it into whatever it is you're working on. So that's going to be a nice little bonus that I just added on there about a week or so ago.
That's amazing. I'm definitely going to have to check both of those out. I'm always up for learning more and definitely always working on my energy. So I love that.
Awesome.
Do
Yeah.
you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Yeah, I would say probably my favorite piece of advice is start before you're ready. Because, I love that saying, a year from now, you'll wish you started today. And there's never like this perfect time. There's never the stars aligning. You're never going to have everything you think you need in order to get started. I fully believe that when you make a decision, the universe provides. So, whatever you believe in, it is simply law of attraction. It responds to how you feel more than anything. And so, when you're following your passions, your pursuits, there's this excitement, right? You're feeding your soul, and that's what responds to. And then just don't worry about the rest. Like, if you're focused on doing your part, the people, the opportunities, the situations that you need, the tools you need, the resources, everything's going to show up for you. And you're going to think it's like a coincidence or something, but it's not. That's how it works. And I had experienced that early on in my life when I left home and I just went traveling because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had no idea. I just wanted to be happy, and I had an opportunity to travel and I took it and I figured it out along the way. And that led to some incredible opportunities. And I knew nothing about the law of attraction at that time. I had no idea what I was doing, but I ended up working on a super yacht for the fourth richest man in the world. I ended up working in a villa. I ended up traveling all over Europe by yacht. And then I went into real life and I did all the things I was supposed to do, and I lost that. And it wasn't until I started a business and I started to learn about law of attraction again, where I started to live my life in that way that I did when I was 18, 19, 20. And I could actually put a name to what I had been doing before. And so, it opens doors. So start before you're ready. If there's something pulling on you, listen to that. Not the loud voice that's fear telling you that's a bad idea. Listen to that little tiny niggle that's like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And do that.
Oh, thank you. That's a beautiful way to end, and how fortunate your daughters are, and anyone who works with you to learn from you and your experience. That's amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for sharing your story and inspiration with us today, Johanna. I'm
You're
so happy that
welcome.
you joined me today.
Yes, me too. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you follow and leave a rating so we can connect with more mamas, and I will see you on the next episode.